Mills from GameLeap here with an insane new tier list. You see, patch 1.02 and the general perception of the meta has shifted dynamically, so let's break down every hero from most powerful to dumpster tier. Subscribe to GameLeap if you want to place Immortal 3, even if you go 0-5 in placements, but enough talking, let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now, before we get started, keep in mind that this is a ranked tier list, so this is not going to be talking about pro play in general, and as a result, this is not necessarily talking about pre-made teams, which is something that is extremely important to know because some characters are way better when played with perfect information and perfect synergy. Now, kicking off with the S tier, the best of the best, they simply dominate every other character in the game, and they pound for pound bring something unique and powerful that every team should have either one of these characters or all three of these characters. Now, the first character in the S tier is actually Reyna. Now, in my last tier list, I put her in the B tier because she just came out and we didn't know right away just how powerful she was going to be. We knew she was powerful, but she was an all or nothing agent that felt like if you didn't bring enough value and you didn't win your trades, you could just be a useless hero altogether. Now, hindsight is 2020, but we were insanely wrong about Reyna, and she might just be the most powerful hero in the entire game. Her Leer is an insane flash. Her ability to not only win 1v1s consistently, but retake sites with her ability to take trades and either heal up or potentially fade out of danger. Reyna has the potential to single-handedly destroy rank. I'm personally guessing that in her current state, any game from Plat and beyond will most likely have a Reyna on both sides. Her carry potential is immense, and she's so powerful at taking these one-sided duels, and the amount of impact that she could bring alone is more than any other character if you have the skills to back her up. In my personal opinion, as far as duelers are concerned, Reyna just brings so much more value than literally any other dueler. Characters like Breach, Phoenix, and Jet all bring their own unique playstyle and characteristics that can be powerful, but an insane Reyna, on average, is going to get even more value than all these characters, and because of this, Reyna makes it into the S tier. Now, moving on to the next character, the best of the best character is Sage. The Ice Queen herself, Sage, is just amazing. I mean, everyone knows just how powerful Sage is. She doesn't even require the level of individual skill as Reyna does, but she can bring comparable value just with her utility alone. She's one of the only characters that can stop an entire team for giant amounts of time, and I'm talking about 30 seconds plus with her abilities, which means she's insane at stalling. She's insane at forcing enemies to invest utility. Sage has the most powerful ultimate in the game, in my personal opinion, with her Resurrect. And if you don't know who to play, or if you're not that confident in your own individual skill, you would be hard pressed to find someone better than Sage to play in every single game. As a final comment to Sage, until we get more heroes that can heal up their team and give your teammates sustain or that ability to fight at a full fighting force throughout multiple stages of a round, then Sage will never be dethroned from S tier. Especially now with the tagging nerfs, where you're more likely to get out if you took some damage because you're not going to be glued to the floor. You're less likely to die if you jiggle peek or if you only take a little bit of damage. That ups the power level of heal even more because a lot of your teammates are going to get out of these scenarios, and then they're going to need your heal in order to bring them up to a full fighting force and take another engagement. So that's another insane change that directly affects Sage, and I do think that she is far and away one of the best characters in the game. Now, the last character we have in S tier, keep in mind this is in no particular order, but S tier candidate is Cypher. Cypher got some bug fixes, but no overwhelming changes. But just like in my last tier list, Cypher is one of the best agents in the game. The entire playstyle that your team has against a good Cypher is dramatically different. Cypher can shut down whole points by himself on defense, and the fact that he can transfer information so well, and he prevents enemies from rushing onto point and basically blocks off entire strategies of play like smoking off a point and rushing onto site. This all makes Cypher someone that, in my personal opinion, you don't even want to be without on a team. Cypher is an insane character that is unique with his spy cam, has an iron-tight defense, provides information and playmaking capabilities that other characters just don't have. Cypher is definitely one of the best characters in the game. Now, moving on to the A tier, these are what I would call the best at what they do all around. These characters are insanely good. They're not the best of the best, but they are undoubtedly some of the top characters in the game. Kicking off with the first character on the list, we have Breach. Now, Breach is an insane engager. Now, in my opinion, the place where he definitely lacks when comparing him directly to Arena is the fact that he is far more team-oriented. Breach is way better in actual scrims, in a pro environment, or when everyone is communicating, following up on your utility clears with people swinging away, being able to follow up on all the information that you get with Breach to more concisely secure a site, check all the angles, force enemies to swing. These are all things that are better with a coordinated team or a pre-made team. Now, Reyna is, in my opinion, insane whether she's in a pre-made team or whether she's solo queue. Reyna can just get value no matter what if you're insane at her. But even if you're insane at Breach, there are going to be limits to the amount of carry potential. And the fact that, unlike Reyna, he doesn't have that self-sustain that Reyna can bring to herself. He doesn't have any way to heal himself. So in that way, Reyna brings some really powerful parts of both Breach and Phoenix to be even a better version of a dueler. So in my opinion, Breach is still amazing, he's still great, but he's gonna be better if you have better communication and a more synergistic team. Speaking of a synergistic hero, Brimstone is in the A tier for a lot of the same reasons. Brimstone's utility is unparalleled in a lot of ways. His smokes last a ridiculously long time. They're extremely huge, sizable smokes that block a lot of LOS. They're easy to use. He has a molly that lasts for an insane amount of time, does a lot of damage, can block off sites, block off enemies pushing. One of the only characters that can block an entire team from pushing in a similar way that Sage can. Brimstone is definitely nuts. Now, something really important for you to keep in mind is with the new smoke changes, smokes are just nerfed all around. If an enemy pushes through a smoke, they're going to be able to see people on the other side of the smoke or outside of the smoke far quicker, and it's going to be a lot easier for people to see each other if you both push inside a smoke. For both of these reasons combined, Brimstone smokes are not going to be quite as powerful. People are going to be more incentivized to push through them, and especially with the tagging nerf, this is something that's insanely important. With the tagging nerf, people are not going to be glued inside of a smoke as often. It's going to be harder to wall bang inside smokes. That means people are going to push through smokes even more. Now, what all these tagging things mean is that people are going to be way more aggressive through smokes. So a character like Cypher who can actually punish this, that type of character is even more powerful than before with this tagging nerf. But a character like Brimstone that really relies on smokes to disincentivize people from pushing altogether, that kind of character is going to be slightly weaker. So that's something to keep in mind. But even with all those things true, Brimstone is still an insane character that is unrivaled at what he does, which is blocking LOS. Now, the last character in the A tier that is really good at what he does, it's Sova. Sova can bring so much information to the team, and unlike Cypher, he is viable on both attack, defense, or pretty much any situation if you know the rollouts. Now, Cypher's kit is so unique and so dominant on defense that he gets the S tier, but Sova all around is going to be such a powerful information gatherer for your team. There is almost no scenario where a Sova is bad. He has some offensive capabilities with his damage, arrows, and specifically his ultimate that could definitely get some value if you know where enemies are, or you combine it with his other abilities. But what's more powerful about Sova is the fact that his recon arrows on a cooldown that can be used multiple times throughout the round, and his drone can set up plays for his allies where allies follow behind it, making Sova kind of the information gatherer for a pop flasher. Having a Sova together with a Reyna can allow you to make really aggressive plays in a way that is not the same if you have a Cypher and a Reyna. Sure, Cypher's great by himself, but he doesn't synergize as well with a character like Reyna as Sova does. In fact, Sova really combos very well with all of the pop flashers, Reyna, Breach, and Phoenix, so that's something to really keep in mind when crafting a team composition or duoing. Duoing a Sova with a Reyna, a Breach, or a Phoenix can let you make these aggressive plays by first gathering information and then following it up with the pop flash. Now, moving on to the next tier, the B tier, these are solid additions if played correctly. And I'm going to be honest with you, all of the remaining characters are in the B tier. Now, I know what you might be saying. Why are there characters in the C tier, the D tier, the F tier like I've had in the past? Well, the thing is, a lot of the power level of characters have been dramatically bumped up to be more comparable. Riot has done a really good job at making a lot of the characters balanced together. So, as such, all these characters are good. I can't say that any of these characters are really bad. So I'm going to break them down from what I think is most powerful to least powerful in the B tier. But keep in mind that all these characters are viable if played correctly in the ways that I state when I break it down. So firstly, the most powerful character in the B tier, in my opinion, is Omen. Omen can do an insanely good Brimstone impression. His dark cover is a lot easier to use these days, and because it lasts for 15 seconds, that makes it pretty comparable to Brimstone. Unfortunately, the overall cast time when casting multiple of them out is going to be longer than Brimstone, just being able to tap 3 buttons and instantly activate it, but it is still really powerful, and it does a pretty good mock impression. And there are going to be some team compositions where you want to play a Brimstone with an Omen to have so much LOS blocking, or have LOS blocking to initiate and then more LOS blocking later on to potentially hold a site. On top of that, Paranoia is a lot more powerful than before. Still probably the weakest as far as flashes are concerned, but buffs overall is great for Omen. His ultimate and quality of life is generally good, and the fact that unlike Brimstone, Omen has the capability to make these powerful flank plays, cross from one natural cover to the next without peeking at all. These are all potential playmaking abilities that, in my opinion, in ranked, especially at the lower ranks, is insanely powerful to carry. Now, I don't think that Omen is anywhere near as good as Brimstone if you play him at the higher levels ranked or in scrims or anything like that, but for a solo queue competitive ranked environment, I do think that on average, if you're a really good player and you like the utility that Brimstone provides, but you want a little bit more firepower, a little bit more playmaking capability, then Omen is the guy for you. Moving on to the next character that I think is second best in the B tier, we have Raze. Raze is in this weird spot where she's not oppressive anymore. Because of the paint shells nerf, the blast pack nerf, she is not oppressive by any means, but if you know a lot of her bounce spots and you're really disciplined with her boom bot use and you are crafty with your blast packs, you can get an insane amount of value. I mean, she can clear out corners, she can take duel favorably with her Roomba, and of course her paint shells can allow you to put a lot of damage on the enemy in a way that you set up a lot of these unfair engagements where the enemy is all weak, and even if they have a Sage, they can't heal up all the scrap damage that you do. On top of that, her ultimate is probably the most likely ultimate to end up with at least a single kill, which is value on the table and can help you clutch up a close team fight. Raze is definitely a powerful character. The only downside to Raze in general, in my opinion, is when you're crafting a team comp, I don't know how much you would rather have a Raze than someone like a Breach, someone like a Reyna, someone like an Omen. There are a lot of different characters that are competing for the spot that she could play on a team, but in a casual ranked environment or in coordinated scrims where you've mastered every single bounce spot, Raze can definitely get raw damage value in a way that no other character can. Now, the next character in the B tier that we have to talk about, and it's Viper, who's the one that got insane buffs in this patch. While she did get a toxic orb nerf, her toxic screen goes through tons of different surfaces now, which means that there are going to be way more potential wall spots and rollout spots as opposed to before where there were only a select few. Now, on top of this, she also got her AoE buff substantially, where if you get afflicted by it and you take any damage after the fact, it's going to be doing double damage for a short amount of time, which is just a straight up buff to that ability. Now, as far as what all this means for Viper, Viper is just going to be way better than she was before, especially her toxic screen. The ability for you to use that in a way that cuts straight through to the point. Think about something like on Split A attack, right? You take control of the choke point and then you send a wall straight down the middle and across that lets you and your team basically route straight onto point, take point control instantly. There's going to be a lot of interesting plays like this, and I'm interested to see all the potential rollouts that come out from this change. But as far as making aggressive spike plays, making aggressive plays at planting the spike right away without baiting utility for that long, instead of playing default for this really long time, you actually make an aggressive play where you try to get bombed down right away with the Viper abilities. I definitely think that that might be more viable, and I'm interested to see where Viper will go from here. But for now, Viper is an insanely powerful hero that I definitely think a lot of people are going to start experimenting with, and I'm excited to see if any pro players pick her up and start using her in some interesting ways. Now, the next character on the B tier list is Phoenix. Yes, Phoenix has fallen a little bit from grace, but it's not without reason. First off, he got a slight nerf in the fact that his ultimate both gives Jet's ultimate a reset with her knives, and it drops an orb for Reyna. Now, the biggest problem with Phoenix, as per before, Phoenix had someone that just did his job better in the Breach category. Breach just did his job a little bit better than Phoenix did. Even though Phoenix was a jack of all trades, he was not really insane at any one thing, and other characters did his job better. Now, Reyna adds on to another character that pop flashes and just does Phoenix's job better. Her sustain is better if you're actually getting the kills. Her flash is better in general. Leer is far better. and I do think that her carry potential is way higher. Phoenix has to invest multiple abilities to heal up to full HP, and he never gets up to that 150 HP, so even though Phoenix is definitely viable, and he's not that far away from Breach and Reyna, he is far enough away to put him all the way down here, even though he is pretty powerful. Now, the last character in the B tier list, and probably the worst character in the game, but keep in mind that the B tier list are all almost on the exact same playing field, so no character is that much better than any other character in my opinion, but the last character in the B tier is Jett. Now, Jett is not that powerful with most of her abilities. Her updraft is cool because it allows her to pick untraditional angles, but Omen and Raze can do that, and I do think that those abilities have more utility than just an updraft on Jett, even Glide aside. Jett smokes are awkward where they last a little bit too long to where you can use them to just one-sided peek an angle, but they're not long enough to actually be a valuable smoke to be used as an offensive smoke, so that is definitely a weird part in Jett's kit. But of course, the biggest reason to play Jett, period, is her tailwind. We've talked about how Jett has seen pro play in the past, and I do think that if you have a team that can play around you where you're playing an aggressive angle, trying to catch the enemy off guard, the enemy doesn't expect you to play in these really aggressive positions, then you can get some value on Jett. The biggest problem I have with Jett in general is the fact that when you compare her across the board to all these other characters, she doesn't solo carry as good as some of these other characters like Reyna can. She doesn't provide the utility that characters like Cypher Sage, Brimstone, Sova does. What she brings to the table and what she excels at is just worse than what a lot of other characters can bring. I particularly have been playing a lot of Jett, and it's especially frustrating where you basically die mid-dash. It happens a lot, but I am interested in maybe this tagging nerf, making Jett a little bit more viable with these jiggle peaks, because you can potentially jiggle peek a lot and use your tailwind in combination. But we have to wait and see exactly how the tagging affects Jett in the long run. But for now, I do think that she might need a little bit of buffs, but I'm mostly happy with where the S, A, and B tier are in this game, with the slight exception of Reyna. Reyna might be a little bit overtuned, but I definitely want to know what you think about Reyna in the comments down below. Is she a little bit overpowered, or do you think people just need to learn how to play around her Leer and play around her as a character? Is that the way to shut down Reyna? Now, do us a huge solid here at GameLeap and smash that sub button so you don't miss out on any of the future tier list content, in-depth guides, or anything we have to offer. Good luck with your ranked placements. I hope each and every one of you plays Immortal 3.